Hello to the 5 people watching, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the Fourier market cycle theory. Let's get into it. Market analysts have tried for decades, have looked at charts and tried to decipher what is the reason, why is the market going up, why is the market going down. They came up with theories on why that happens, and the Fourier cycle is just another one of those theories, just another example. And the reason why it's called the Fourier cycle, it's because it's connected to the Fourier presidential election in the United States. So if you go back and have a look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average chart, you'll see that more or less there is a significant low every 4 years or so, and you'll find lows like that going all the way back from 1938, and then you'll have another low in 1942, another low in 1946, 1950, 1953. So it's not exactly 4 years. You'll have deviations. Like with everything when it comes to investing, nothing is set in stone, but you will get these significant lows going all the way up to until 1982. Then you'll have another low in 1987. So pretty much for about 50 years, half a century, this 4 year cycle repeats every 4 years or so. And always, when I mean 4 year cycle, you measure it from bottom to bottom, from low to low. The analysts are split when it comes to the existence of the 4 year cycle. So you'll see people saying that it doesn't exist, and you'll see people saying that they've used it and they have success with it. You should always use this as not financial advice, obviously, but another tool that you can use in your investment journey. Like I said, analysts are split. Some say it doesn't exist. Some say there's not enough data, that it's not a trend, that it's more of an anomaly rather than a trend. So of course, like with everything, got pluses and minuses. So either if you believe in it or you don't. If people used that 4 year cycle in that particular time frame, 50 years or so, from 1930s to the 1980s, they have done very well for themselves. Obviously, like everything else when it comes to investing, any kind of indicator or kind of strategy, it works until it doesn't work anymore. And when it doesn't work anymore, you have to adapt, you have to find something else to get an edge, so to speak. How does Bitcoin fit in all of this? The first time I've heard of the 4 year cycle was in 2018 from a YouTuber called Bob Lucas. That channel is still around, by the way, and I think it's a pretty good channel for people who want to do more than just DCA into Bitcoin, right? People who want to take their investing journey and have be more active when it comes to managing their portfolio. So that's how I found about the 4 year cycle theory. Bob Lucas has been very consistent, and he's the type of content creator that only does a video maybe 3 to 4 times a year or so. So it's great to people who are new to Bitcoin. So it was 2018. Bitcoin has just collapsed. It was a brutal bear market, and whilst every other YouTuber in the crypto world was saying that, you know, Bitcoin is just gonna keep going down, Bob Lucas released his first YouTube video, I believe, called the 4 year cycle, and he was explaining why he thought that the bear market is probably over and Bitcoin will start trading sideways and up and go in a bull market from there on. And I found that video to be extremely informative. It gave me a strategy, so to speak, of how to navigate the very complicated world of crypto. So the principle is as follows. In Bitcoin, just like in traditional markets, you would have a significant low every 4 years. You would get a low, Bitcoin would trend higher for 3 years, and then it will have a 1-year bear market to end the 4-year cycle at the bottom of that bear market, and a new one starts. This has repeated almost exactly like that for the duration, well, since Bitcoin has been around pretty much. So we had bull markets that ended in 2013, 2017, 2021, and potentially right now 2025. And we had bear markets in 2014, 2018, 2022, and we're going to potentially have another bear market, if this is correct, next year in 2026. This was very important for myself because it made it a lot easier to make decisions what to do with my portfolio. So I started buying in that period. I didn't catch the bottom of 2018, but it was, you know, it was a pretty good accumulation spot. It gave you a time-based indicator, I guess you can call it an indicator, that you should prepare yourself to scale out of the market at a certain point and to scale back in when the price will be right. Looking at it after all these years, I would say it's probably the only strategy that has stood the test of time for now. And just to give you an example why this is such a good strategy, I remember in the bear market of 2018, when price of Bitcoin was about 3K, just a bit over 3K, every YouTuber out there was saying, we're gonna go to 1K, we're gonna go lower, we're gonna go below 1K. And they were all wrong. Like most of the times they were all wrong. Bitcoin bottomed and it just went up into a 3-year bull market until 2021. We had the peak, which again was a time-based peak, Q4 of the post-halving year or Q4 of the post-election year. We had the peak and Bitcoin collapsed for 1 year in 2022, which was again a very good spot to buy. Now the question is this 4-year cycle theory still happening? Is the 4-year cycle dead? Is it a theory? Is it working? Well, until now it has, for sure it has worked. How long is it going to work for? I have no idea. And according to that theory, we are right now in Q4 of 2025. So technically speaking, we should be topping. Probably we topped already. If you measure from top to top, even though that's not a 4-year cycle theory, remember, we normally should measure bottom to bottom. But if you measure top to top, like I said, we're right there. October, the first week of October was potentially a top. But we'll see. We'll see if that's still a thing. I think we need more data. I think that we need to see what's gonna happen right now. We had the bottom, we had the top in October that went to 126K, and then we went all the way down to 80K, 80,500 I believe. Now this next bounce is gonna be very important, but it's because it's going to tell us if it's going to be a lower high or another higher high. So we'll have to see. Getting back to the 4-year cycle, at some point, like I said at the beginning of the video, when it comes to the traditional markets, the 4-year cycle have stopped being a thing in the 80s. Okay, it hasn't worked ever since, not on a 4-year basis anyway. So at some point, I'm sure we're gonna have the same situation with Bitcoin. impossible to say when. But until now it has worked. I think, in my opinion, it has been the only kind of predictable way to navigate the price of Bitcoin. So if it's not broken, don't fix it. Yes, at some point it's gonna stop working, obviously, but when that's going to happen, who knows? It may be decades until that happens, just like it happened with the stock market. Just to add, I think, well, not I think, when it comes to the 4-year cycle and Bitcoin, if you look on the charts, the 4-year cycle, in my opinion, is a lot clearer on Bitcoin. I'm not entirely sure why. Maybe because it's a newer asset and still connected, like the traditional market, to the 4-year presidential election in the United States. Midterms here tend to be very bad for Bitcoin, and we have bear markets and considerable corrections when the price of Bitcoin have gone very low, 70–80% or more. And then after the midterms year, we tend to have 3 years of the price of Bitcoin going up. Summary of the video: I think the 4-year cycle is a thing. I think it works, at least for a while. I'm not sure for how long. It has definitely worked every 4 years with Bitcoin. It has worked for about half a century with traditional markets. And I think it's a tool that you can add to your toolkit when you make decisions, and definitely something that I added to mine when I made decisions. We are now in Q4 of 2025, and I think potentially we have topped in the first week of October. The more time goes by and we don't make a significant move, especially by the end of the year, I think that's gonna be a very good sign that we have topped and we're gonna go down in 2026. And if the 4-year cycle is correct, we're gonna find a bottom at some point in September or October of 2026. I've also seen people online on YouTube saying that for whatever reason we're gonna only go to 60 or 70k if there is going to be a bear market in 2026. I just find that very hard to believe, because we already been to 80k. So we already been to 80,000. I find it hard to believe that we're gonna find the bottom at 70,000. It just doesn't make, it doesn't seem very probable to me. So if we're going to get the bear market in 2026, I think it's going to be brutal, just like any other bear markets. For me, this will be my 3rd bear market, and all I can say from my experience that the previous 2 bear markets have been also brutal, with people, well, capitulating their positions, because that's how bear market ends, when people give up and they sell their positions. And when that happens, all of a sudden the bear market is over, and that was the bottom. And you know, Bitcoin just started trading up for 3 years after that. It's always like that with investing. The market always throws you a curveball, and every 4-year cycle they don't repeat exactly the same. There's always a difference. There's always, they rhyme, but they're not exactly the same. So this year, for example, I was surprised. If October, the first week of October is going to be the top, I'll be honest with you, that took me by surprise. But it's how it is. You're never gonna be able to time the top, and you won't be able to time the bottom. What you can do is add as much knowledge and as many skills, as many theories, as many tools to your toolkit to help you navigate and, you know, make better decisions. As a conclusion for this video, yes, I do think the 4-year cycle is a thing. I do think it still works. I think it goes from bottom to bottom, like it was explained by Bob Lucas. So I'm not sure if the top is in, but I think we will get the bottom sometime next year. And traditionally, yes, Bitcoin does have a pretty weak midterms year. So when elections happen in the United States, midterms happen in the United States, they tend to be very poor year for Bitcoin. So I'm positioning myself to take full advantage of that. Now, I'm curious, Having said all that, do you believe in the 4-year cycle? Do you think we topped? And do you think we're gonna have a bear market next year? Let me know down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Take care and bye bye.